Time now 5:32. We are staying on top of the latest surrounding that situation at the Four Seasons Hotel. We do know that a suspect is in custody, 70-year-old J. Stevens Berger, who was arrested on the 33rd floor of the Four Seasons, which is a residential area. That whole floor evacuated. It is a crime scene, as well as the floor above it and the floor below it. And moments ago, Jennifer, we just heard from Police Chief Darren Shearbaum, as well as Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, giving an update here.
Yeah, they say that they are working to get those residents back inside their homes as quickly as they can, but this is still an ongoing investigation, saying this all started because of a dispute between the person that was involved here, Mr. Berger, and a hotel employee. Law enforcement was called in. They tried to make contact with this individual, and the person would not respond. That's what set all of this off around 10 this morning. We also understand that Mr. Berger was injured in some way during this ongoing situation, taken to Grady Hospital. We also understand that a member of the SWAT team was injured as well. Yep. So this is a very unfolding situation still. A lot of investigating left for Atlanta police to do. We just heard from, again, Chief Darren Shearbaum and Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, and Cody Alcorn was out there on the scene listening in. Cody, what else did you learn from this news conference?
Well, from my sourcing on this suspect, Mr. Berger, here is what I've been able to tell you, is that he actually owned a unit on the 33rd floor. So he lived on the residence side of the Four Seasons. Of course, residents on one side, the hotel on the other. I'm told this was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit which he owned here. And as you mentioned, at some point today, he had an altercation with staff. If you live at this residence, it's actually very nice. Of course, you have 24-hour room service, you have concierge. So they're very familiar with their residents. Obviously, if you do live in a Four Seasons like this one. We know what this began as an altercation quickly turned into something much more whenever they said he had a handgun and refused to come out of that unit. Again, on the 33rd floor of this condominium here. Now, there are 91 residents here that they actually had to be familiar with. They evacuated the 32nd floor, the 33rd, and the 34th. What they developed was that he had multiple weapons inside this unit. That's when SWAT backed out. They got snipers in, and that is when around 3:40 we heard multiple shots. The chief saying those shots came through the balcony, they came through the walls, they came through the doors, and of course snipers and SWAT shot back. We know during this shootout, one Atlanta police officer was hurt. We know the suspect was hurt, and we believe that we do have video of that suspect being gurneyed out to the ambulance. He was taken to Grady. He is right now being held in custody there at Grady, where he will then be taken for interviews and, of course, to be booked at the jail. The chief said right now they're heading to Grady as well to check on their officer. I asked if that officer was actually shot during this. He said right now they don't know. They just know that officer was hurt. We also don't know if Berger was shot, but both Berger and this officer are at the same hospital now being treated for some type of injury. So there is a lot more investigating to go as well. You can see here behind me, this still is a crime scene here. 14th Street is shut down in front of the Four Seasons. And you mentioned there were multiple shots fired. I know I heard at least 30 to 40 shots. So you got to think they're going to have to find where these shots went. Casings. They're going to have to find trajectory as well. So the investigation will be lasting hours here on the scene. But again, this has been resolved. It's our understanding no one else was hurt besides this APD officer and Berger himself. But of course, we have a lot more digging into to find out why all of this happened today.
Cody, part of that investigation is also going to involve 2 officers who Atlanta police say fired shots during this situation. We're hearing from Atlanta police that the GBI has been brought in.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Jennifer. Now that this scene is secure, you will have the GBI brought in. They'll have GBI agents, and of course, with such a massive scene, we're talking probably multiple crime scene technicians. They'll bring in those white kind of ambulance-looking vehicles we see that marked a GBI, so they will come in and actually process this scene. I would not be surprised if the GBI is here through the morning hours, well after the sun comes back up, because again, we know snipers were all around here, and with 40 shots fired from 30 floors up, who knows where all of these shots ended. So the GBI will have quite an extensive crime scene to map out. And of course, APD will have their internal affairs out here as well, looking into how this carried out. You heard the chief and mayor said they were actually watching this live with body camera footage back at headquarters so they could see how this went down. So they'll use this, they will investigate this, and of course they'll debrief from this as well, because this doesn't happen often. I think the last time we saw anything of this caliber in Midtown was the Midtown shooter, but again, this was very different. We're talking 30 floors up, and it was contained to this one unit where Mr. Berger apparently lived here. But again, a lot of questions surrounding all of this, and we hope to have more answers, of course, throughout the evening.
All right, 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn live for us. Cody, if we have a couple seconds, the mayor confirmed something pretty big for us. That we got videos and photos of this suspected gunman throwing things off of the balcony on the 13th Street rather, and that area, Mayor Andre Dickens saying that that's evidence. Okay. What else are we hearing about that? We know that 13th Street, that area there, I believe the Moxie Hotel is on that street, as well as a couple of other residential areas, and then a parking lot there as you go up to Crescent. What does it look like from the ground where you are?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a brand new Mexican restaurant right there across from the Moxie, so it wouldn't be surprising if people are actually out enjoying this afternoon. So that's why they said to avoid this area. But we did see pictures. We'll show them tonight as well. He was throwing furniture over that balcony as well. We know he tossed at least one gun, according to the chief. So that will be a crime scene as well. And we know if those bullets went out that balcony, they could be several feet away in other buildings. So again, a massive crime scene here GBI is going to have to go through. But again, you just mentioned there were a lot of businesses, there are a lot of witnesses, so they'll be tracking all of those folks down and looking for social media posts and any videos as well. But I think at the end of the day, the good news here, nobody killed in this, because this could have ended much worse, not just for the suspect, for those men and women who went to the 32nd floor and engaged with this suspect to protect Midtown residents.
Yeah, we are certainly glad that nobody else was injured or injured more severely tonight. That was our Cody Alcorn reporting live.